Welcome to the AG45 Soul Aligned Strategy Podcast, where business meets purpose, growth feels good, and results meet enjoyment. Hosted by Katherine Breuss, CEO and founder of AG45, this show is built on 30 years of hands-on experience across 4 countries, 3 businesses, and 1 incredible life raising 4 children. Katherine brings a rare whole-person perspective to business, strategy, and leadership. This podcast is for business owners ready to stop spinning, start aligning, and build a business that delivers real value while creating a life that actually feels like yours. At the end of the day, you are the engine behind it all. And when you're clear and aligned, everything moves with purpose. It starts with you. Let's dive in.
So I want to welcome Tony King to the AG45 Soul Aligned Strategy Podcast. Tony, welcome. And I'd love for you to introduce to the audience who you are as a human, like tell us about you as a person, but also really want to hear about your business.
Um, Boy, this is kind of there's a comedic line here that I'll skip, but yeah, I father of 4 grown children, grandfather of 3 and a fourth on the way. They're my pride and joy. Been married to the same woman for 40 years. Grew up on a farm, so relatively straightforward. Um, you know, kind of how you communicated with others growing up, and you knew everybody, and you behaved in such a way that you were probably going to encounter them some other time in your life. So, um, yeah, I was the youngest of 5 on the farm. There wasn't a lot of extra cash around. And then I spent over 20 years in the flexible packaging world. And if that means nothing to you, it's food contact packaging, what the world calls plastics. It was a great run and met some wonderful people. But pretty early on in my corporate life, it just felt like a hair shirt. Um, I loved the people I worked with, but the things that were done that were so non-value added, and you're making a living and you're raising a family, so you kind of shut up and keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it never quite felt right. And I started dabbling after I left the corporate world in my own business, and I will emphasize the word dabbling until I really had skin in the game. Did it really become a business? Um, I was still in this packaging world, running a small, what we call packaging brokerage company, but it was okay, but it needed more tender loving care than I was willing or able. So I started looking for a company to buy that was in place, that had an infrastructure. I wanted an e-commerce business, the old, hey, you can make money while you're sleeping kind of thing. And I got into the fastener industry up in Libertyville, Illinois, and it's been an education that the Ivy League can't provide. And I didn't go to an Ivy League school, but um, you think in the corporate world, you have a huge staff of people, you fly around the world, and you buy this little company, and you own it, and all of a sudden you're kind of watching the bank account because you got payroll to make,
Mm-hmm.
and and you know nobody cares about all that other stuff that was all the white noise that was going on in your world. um it becomes real very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, we've done a lot of things in the last 2 years. The previous owner, who's a friend of mine, he was an IT guy, never wanted to spend any money on the commercial side in sales or marketing by his own admission. So that's where our focus has been. We're fairly small. We've got 3 or 4 different initiatives we're working on right now. So yeah, that's kind of it in a nutshell, Catherine.
I I loved our pre-conversation, and I'll get to that, in a minute, about how corporate life wasn't necessarily meant for you, but you stayed in it for 25 years.
It was very good to me.
It was, well, you know what, and it can be. It absolutely can be, corporate life. But I have a question that leads into the soul alignment piece. And we're all about at AG45 soul aligned strategy. And how, like I explained it, and listeners, if they've been listening, will have heard me say it before, is that, it's about really knowing who you are, knowing what you want, and then aligning that to your life. And because we talk about business, it's aligning it to your business. So for you, Tony, what does soul alignment mean? And what has been the impact in your life and or business when you have been soul aligned versus when you haven't?
Um, Everything is so real now. Um, you go and you build a company and you try to build a company with, excuse me, as you and I talked about, people want to come through the door in the morning. And um, you can, I'll substitute the word, but you surround yourself with people that get stuff done,
Mhm.
which I was pretty fortunate in the corporate world. But I think what's important is that you have fun doing it. And I don't care. I'll debate this with anybody. Work should be fun. And I went through a long stretch. Speaking of soul alignment, one of my last bosses in the corporate world who remain unnamed, my marching orders from him were, and he was, an ocean away. He said, "Don't, I don't care about anything. Just don't ever make me look bad in front of my boss." And I thought, you have no soul. So, um, so I think it's from a kid that grew up in a small town. There's just no clutter. Every single thing you do um, is built around stuff that drives your top line and doing it in such a way that people want to stay on board, that people want to join the company. Um, and it's not a drag to come into work. We can do all that stuff and have fun. And I don't mean silly fun, but just be joyous and get along. And we're a small enough company. You know, office politics is um, it's just not going to work. And if somebody is driving that kind of behavior, they're not. I'm not keeping them. And I don't need. I always get a kick out of when I first started in the business. They were personnel people. Within a few years, they gave themselves the title of HR, and now they're talent and people management. But I don't. I'm sorry, and if I'm stepping on toes, but we know what we want, and we do it, and everybody's on board with it. And I do think we're soul aligned. I think that um, I don't ever drive into the warehouse and go, gosh, I wonder if Joe at the office in Southern California is going to be cool with what we're trying to do. It's us. It's us. And we look at each other every day. And once it's no longer us, I sell the company.
Mm.
Once it gets to a point where it's grown to the extent that we need a lot of people and this kind of stuff that you tried to get away from, you sell it. That's soul aligned for me, because I love the smallness of it. I love the engagement of the people that are there. So, yeah.
And I love, you said as well, like, since you've owned the business, you enjoy getting up in the morning and going to work. And like, how many people I really can say that? And I think, unfortunately, there are too many people who don't like going to work, don't
I
enjoy
was
it.
one of them. I was one of them, and it was just really unhealthy, and both mentally and physically. And yeah, for
It's
the first
soul
time in my life,
crushing.
it is. At a ripe old age, here I am. And I will tell you this, that you better get it right for me. So I wasn't, we put four kids through school, so I wasn't the guy that had seven or eight figures laying around, waiting for me to nap every day for, 2 hours. Um, I went and bought myself a job, and um, it's paying off, but I'm trying to think who I'm stealing this from, but they talk about burning the boats. You get to the island, and if I burn the boats, there's no turning back. Well, the boats had been burned, so I was going to make this work, and yeah, that's
I'm
it's fun.
I'm curious because I mean, one of the things is you're absolutely right. It's like burning the boats and there is a big difference between an employee mindset and an owner mindset. And I don't think an employee really gets it until they've actually run or like an owned a business themselves. It's very different because it's all on you and the team and everyone around, but the responsibility, the buck stops with you. What drove you to buy a business and actually go, okay, this better work? I'm throwing
Yeah.
everything into it.
Well, again, some of it was I was at an age where, and this is going to come off kind of victimy, and that's not my intent, but I was in an age where, you know, recruiters just aren't that into you anymore, and it's fine. I get it. So, um, I couldn't, I was in an age where I couldn't just shut it down. So I figured, you know what? I'm going to bet on myself.
Oh, I love it.
And it's there have been plenty of days where I was, I've been like, what are you doing? What are you thinking? But those days are very few and far between now. So I had to. I don't care who knows. I didn't. This was never a joyride for me. It was never, hey, I'm just such a smart dude. I have the Midas touch, and if I buy it, it's just chump change anyway. That wasn't my deal. I had to go buy a job. I went and bought a job, and I bet on myself. And the first year was a little nerve-wracking, but as I said, when you burn the boats, you better figure it out. And there was plenty of Thursdays where I'd go in going, it's payroll day. And here's what receivables look like. Um, and never missed a payday, never missed a payroll, but um, you know, so we don't own our building, we rent, and the lease was coming up. When you're in the corporate world, it's just
Yeah.
let's get that taken care of. It's your problem now, and if you can't figure out a solution, I've got X thousand feet of product that I'm going to have to find a new home for. So, I mean, it's just every day there's something, and I, I unabashedly will tell you, like tomorrow afternoon is repairing a toilet because because to get the guy wants like $1,000 to do toilet repair, which I've done a million times in my life, and it's just if you've got a big ego and you just want to say you own a business, don't do it.
No.
Don't do it. If don't bother if that's why you're doing it to say, hey, I own this business and I'm going to flip it to the PE guy. Don't don't do it. You'll lose your money and never get it back. You have to be all in, and if you're not all in, um,
Oh, you just spoke to my heart right then and there.
yeah,
That word all in. That is our top A in the thing is like, first of all, everything you're saying, I'm just like cheering on and going, yes.
yeah,
But you're right. All in is so important. And the other thing that you said too, Tony, which I absolutely love, is you bet on yourself. And like that, I'd like to, can you share a bit more? So for somebody who might be out there, they might either be in a business and they're struggling, and or they're thinking of buying a business. how did you know to bet on yourself? Like, I don't, what advice can you give to someone around that aspect there?
I don't have the magic elixir. And you were the big corporate guy, right? Or gal. And all of a sudden you're looking at social embarrassment if this thing doesn't work, or social embarrassment if I end up, you know, 6 months on a lift truck at Amazon, which by the way, I did that at a very ripe old age because the deal hadn't closed and we didn't have health insurance. So while I'm calling business brokers and trying to get this deal done, um,
Good on
I'm
you.
I'm I'm doing Amazon stuff.
Yeah.
So um, I just felt like I just looked around and I just felt like there's going to be some hard days.
Mm.
Um, and I'm unabashedly will tell you I believe that I don't believe we came from apes. I believe that there's a higher power that that will guide you. And I just felt like deep down, um, there's going to be some bad days, and there's going to be some things you fail at. And there's going to be some stuff that, and if you have another 2 hours, I can tell you all the stuff that we've tried that, but we're just going to put one foot in the other again today. And
Mm.
I felt like this is right.
Mm.
I can do this. Um, I don't know. I trust me. There was a lot of times when I was like, "What are you doing?" But deep down, I felt like, really, this is like I managed a revenue line that was 200 times the size of this. I can do it.
Mhm.
Now, be careful
Mhm.
because your workload and your anxiety will go through the roof compared to again, there's not a staff of 10 here covering you.
Mhm.
Um, you don't have a bunch of college grads that are trying to impress the world working for you. So um, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. It was a lot of self-doubt, but I really got to a point where you got to stop talking and start chalking, as we used to say in the pool hall. You just got to do it. You got to do it. And you know what? You might fail, but you're not going to starve.
Well, so and to that, like obviously, I mean, you said you grew up on a farm, so I am assuming that you know hard work just from that. Because no, I did not
And you
grow
know,
up on a farm, but I know people who have, and let me tell you, I wouldn't want to do that is hard work. So I'm assuming you got quite a good work ethic from your upbringing just from that.
yeah, and the other thing was tough love. Um, my mom, I miss her every day, and I miss my dad, but I have no recollection of my dad ever missing a day of work. And he farmed, and he also supported five of us through a second job. I have no recollection of him going, "Oh, I don't feel good today. I'm just going to call off sick," or "I'm mad at my boss, so I'm going to call off sick." You had a responsibility. You took the job. You said you'd be there. Get your rear end in there. So, stuff like that was never acceptable in our house. Um, that was probably more important than the work ethic piece because if you said you were going to do something, you were expected to do it. And
Mm.
so, yeah, I think that there wasn't much that was ever handed to you growing up in a situation like that. So I was a little past the age of being, again, even a late bloomer, but I don't know.
Well, and so in with regards to like business ownership, and you said that you've tried a lot of things. Some things have worked, some things haven't. And it's about really just picking yourself back up, keep going. Like you said, I think you said put one foot in front of the other. And it's that grit. I don't know. I call it like grit or resilience, or it's not that, oh, this is too hard, now I need to quit. I mean, it's going to be really hard as a business owner. I haven't met one yet that's been like, oh no, this is a breeze.
Well, and now you've got a group of people that have family. They're younger than you, obviously, and they have children. So, it's back to failure is just not an option.
Mm.
You have people counting on you, and that doesn't make you don't make long-term decisions about staffing and all that other stuff. But to just walk in on a Friday morning and go, "Oh, is it payday? This is
Yeah.
payday?" You can't do it. People are counting on you, and it is about yourself, but it isn't just about yourself. And if you don't understand that, um, you need to. So,
Is there something in your business? Was there a time in your business, Tony, that, if you're willing to share, that you failed, or, and see, I don't think anything's a failure really if we learn from it, like if we actually take it, learn from it, and grow. Um, but was there a time that you don't mind sharing with us where maybe you made a decision that didn't go the right way, or that you look back now and are like, what was I thinking? That you wouldn't mind sharing with others, because I think sometimes when we share what we've done wrong, people can either learn from it or they can sit and go like,
how much
oh.
time do we have?
But, well, if there's one thing that you think that it might also resonate with someone else and they might not feel
Um,
as alone.
yeah, I mean, like we sell out of three different channels. Um, we have third party eBay, Amazon. We have a fairly significant e-commerce offering, and then we have direct sales. And I thought I was going to get a quick lift by pouring a bunch of advertising and agency fees into
Mm.
the third party. Um, it was a disaster. I hired this outfit out of, well, the Southeast, let's say that. We hired this outfit out of the Southeast that drove our third party business nearly into the ground. Well, like any agency, they really don't have any skin in the game.
Mm.
And looking back, I thought they were a little pricey, but I thought, maybe I'm maybe I'm paying for the Mercedes versus, the low end whatever. And so I rolled with them for 4 months, and it was at a time when revenues were sluggish, and there were you could literally see our third party sales going in the tank, and they're standing there with their hand out. I mean, I signed the deal. So um, I don't know if that's really specific enough for someone to get their arms around, but I made a decision based on what I thought was going to be a quick lift for the business, and it wasn't. And here's what I would tell a small business owner. There are going to be every day, get really good, because someone's going to be trying to separate you from your money every day with I'll still love you in the morning. And um just be careful.
Mm-hmm.
Be careful. Um, I always use the example. You're probably not old enough to remember, but there was a game show, or a sitcom called Green Acres. And there was a guy in Green Acres named Mr. Haney, and he would always drive up to the farm, and he always had a deal for somebody. And so I always found myself in these situations like Mr. Haney, where, oh, I don't, this isn't working. This isn't work. You didn't tell me I had to redo the images and all this stuff. And Mr. Haney would say, well, you didn't tell me you wanted a steering wheel on the truck. So we always had some deal, and you always find yourself in some deal. And then when the deal doesn't, when you're paying for the service that's awful, they're like, well, you didn't say you want visitors to go up,
Yeah.
Katherine. You never mentioned that you wanted more people on the site. And so, you know, so that's been my education
So what
is,
was, if looking back now on that, And I've actually had so many people say something similar, and I've experienced it myself with marketing firms. Were there any now looking back in hindsight going, oh, that was a red flag? Huh. Like anything that maybe you think like, and what were they that could maybe help others
Sure.
that in mind?
Well, it's just the classic stuff, right? There's always these claims that um, 95% of the people who use our agency are still there in 6 months. Well,
Are they in a contract?
exactly, exactly. There's my yeah, the red flags are like a lot of claims, like they're going to grow your business 400%. Well,
Mm,
if I had 10 visitors that month, they're going to grow at 400%. That's not that impressive.
mm,
So watch for the claims that people make that they're going to, there's this breakthrough that they're going to provide your business. It doesn't work that way. It just doesn't. If you, especially in e-com, if you want to grow the business, you have to pay for ads. It's a bit of extortion, and I'm not going to mention any companies' names, but people can figure it out. If you're not placing ads, your company's going to get suppressed. It's the way the game gets played. So if somebody's making you a bunch of promises, run like the wind.
mm.
And the other thing that I've learned is more. There's a lot of really good companies out there that can give you really good service, processes, outcomes that they're not charging an arm and a leg for. It's again, there's this misnomer that, well, you get what you pay for. In some markets that's true. I don't think it's true in the agency world. I really don't. I think that there's small houses with one or two people that work really hard.
Mm,
And
mm.
so agency work has been my education. And I have three
Did
daughters
well,
that warned me about it.
did you find someone or an agency to then help you, or did you figure it out yourself?
I figured it out myself.
Okay. So,
I figured it
so,
out myself.
um, which it's interesting. I was listening to this podcast, and a CEO who's in software development and whatnot, and he paid like six figures worth of PR, and getting the PR to help them, and he
Mhm.
said it was nothing, like got absolutely nothing. He got some little article in some magazine that nobody even heard of,
But
and
in a trade magazine, yeah.
yeah. And then he's like, well, I ended up figuring it, you know what, I can do this myself. And so, now he's head of PR, and I find that interesting. Now, by no means am I saying that that is across the board for everyone. So I don't want to be poo-pooing marketing firms, because there are some really good ones out there, and they can really enhance. And to your point, Tony, as well, even the little guy, or the one or two, the small ones
Mm.
as well. I would say in those, though, it's looking for people who are niche expertise, because I do find that in the marketing space, when people say, and it's one or two people like, we can do everything. I find it so complex, like just a marketing person to know Facebook ads, and how that's like one expertise in itself, because my
It
understanding is
is.
the algorithms change so much and whatnot. So I would say if someone's like, oh, I'm an expert in Facebook, and I'm an expert in email campaigns, and I'm an expert in, Instagram. Well, I guess that's the same as Facebook, but LinkedIn, like they all, my understanding is like all kind of separate expertise that you really need to get your head around.
IT is the same way.
Okay. Ooh, say
It's,
more, like
it's
in terms of.
well, so we have e-commerce, right?
Mm,
So um, we have third party, and never the twain shall meet. If you have somebody that's working on your SEO, do not let them near your Amazon, and vice versa. Um, and then of course there's just the raw IT. There's the back of the website,
mhm.
and I don't really care. We've got enough items. I don't. Um, we're built on a platform called Big Commerce, and they're a little pricey, but everybody's like, you should move your stuff over to, I won't mention the name, you've heard of them. And that's not trivial. That's that's a huge cash outlay to take your ERP system
Mm-hmm.
that talks to big commerce and now switch it all out of there to talk to it's 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 huge.
Mm-hmm.
So, you've got your ERP system, you've got some sort of platform for your email, you've got an SEO, you've got, again, you need some platform for your e-com business. And so, you know, I've lost a lot of money on the guy that can handle all of it, and he can't.
Mm-mm.
He can't because in the back of the website, you have to have somebody that understands coding, and skill sets are very different.
So I'm curious, what was the draw to e-commerce? Was it just this was an opportunity, or was like what was that?
I'm old, and I think you can scale it much quicker than I looked at a packaging company, which is my background,
Mm-hmm.
but you know, if I can use a football analogy, you're grinding it out 2 or 3 yards at a time and picking up a customer. Um, that's not the case here. There's places we can go play that for a company our size, you can grow exponentially very quickly. And that was probably the appeal was if, and again, he had no direct sales force at all. There was no effort to add additional items to the website. So as you start doing that, you're not talking about growing 4, 5, 6% a year. It's not inconceivable. We're small enough that we really should be for the next 4 or 5 years doubling the size of the business. We're going to come pretty close this year. At some point you hit a bit of a snag and things start to slow down. But um, we were small enough that I didn't need a ton of capital. I didn't need to go buy 2 presses and a laminator to grow the business. It was all right there.
Nice.
And we can go from 30,000 to 60,000 visitors without me putting another dime into this business. So I may have to add some people, but you don't have to. I don't need, again, new presses or laminators or slitters to do that in this business.
Nice. And so is your end game to sell?
Yeah, I um, I've been blessed with good health. Um, I don't have a lot of hobbies. When the weather's warm, I golf.
Hmm.
We've got a fourth grandchild on the way, but our son who's out of the area, he and his wife are moving back to the area, so it's not,
Oh, that's
I just don't have this is kind of both vocation and avocation for me. So yeah, I mean, at some point we'll sell it, but
yeah.
I'm not.
You're in
I
growth
didn't buy
mode.
it to go, hey, let's sell it. Next thing you know, old Jed's a millionaire. That wasn't the plan, you know.
Jed's a millionaire. Wait, where is that from?
Beverly Hillbillies.
That's it. Yes. No, I know that one. I do know that one. And now the tune, the opening of the TV show, um,
Yeah,
is going through my head, and I'm not going to sing it because that will make people really go off the shut down the podcast if I start singing. Um, well, if there was, okay, so to round this off, Tony,
sure.
if there was one piece of advice that you would give someone of a business owner, what would it be?
Somebody that's a business owner or somebody's thinking about being a business owner.
Well, either, actually.
Um, do it. Just if it's something you've longed to do, just go do it. And if you're waiting for the perfect opportunity, if you're waiting for that perfect person at the dance, stop. It just doesn't work that way. I mean, obviously there's some stuff that you're going to do to vet the business, but if if you're looking for the perfect opportunity, don't waste your time. Don't waste your time.
And I think if someone is a perfectionist, maybe running a business is not the best thing because it is so imperfect.
Every day is imperfect, and if you came up through in the corporate world and you like that, I wouldn't recommend it. I
Mm.
really wouldn't. Um, because you're going to wake up and that huge staff that you had, they're not there. They're not around, and you you got to figure it out, and you've got to close the books. So, um, do it and don't look back, and have fun and burn the boats behind you.
Mhm.
Um, but I mean, time just flies.
Yeah.
Once you buy a business, your life is in monthly increments, right? And well, this is a three payroll month. Well,
Mhm.
boom, boom, boom. So I don't. I would just if you're thinking about it, stop thinking about it and go find something that you think you can enjoy. If if you have a lot of misgivings, don't this it's gonna you're gonna have some really bad days. Um,
And
don't go ahead.
do you think that also being an entrepreneur, a business owner, do you think that was always in your blood and your bones? Maybe you didn't pursue it, you went down the corporate route, but do you feel like this actually is you?
Yeah, I do. And I don't care. I'll just tell you, I always had authority issues. I did. Um, but life happens and there's
Mhm.
mouths to feed, and I loved it. Met some people I still consider friends for life. But yeah, I wish I would have done it sooner, like
Mm.
committed to it a long time ago. But I didn't. And yeah, I always had a chip on my shoulder about authority. And I always laugh. I don't think I would have lasted in the military very long. There's some really great people in the military. Um, but yeah, I think it was always in my blood.
Yeah.
So,
I think that's what separates like an entrepreneurial business owner from just an owner is that an entrepreneurial owner, they've just have it in their blood. It's just kind of part of who they are. It's and so those people out there who have that, definitely, I'm like, go for it, like the calling, but make sure it's the right thing, like you said, Don't go out and like think like, oh, these fart machines are a great idea. That,
right, right, right. No, it's the most rewarding thing you'll ever do
Hmm.
because you'll figure it out. You will figure it out. Not without some bloody noses, but you'll figure it out, and it's just a totally different, lack of a better term, high
Hmm.
that once you start making decisions and you know things start to happen.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's good.
I love it. I love it. Tony, oh my gosh, thank you so much for
Thanks for
joining
having me.
us. Oh my gosh, it's been such a great, I love the conversation. Really appreciate your time and I hope you had fun.
I did. I did. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for joining us on the AG45 Soul Aligned Strategy podcast. If you're ready to align your soul with your business, take back your time, and grow with intention, we'd love to connect. Visit accelerategrowth45.com to schedule a call, apply to be a guest, or take the next step toward building a soul aligned business. At AG45, we believe when business meets value, wealth meets legacy, and time meets freedom, the journey becomes truly enjoyable. Until next time, stay aligned, stay inspired, and keep building your legacy.